Hold on just a second. Okay. Okay, Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Good evening to everyone. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Inshallah, we'll be starting our the first of series of 2 online workshop with Shaykh Amin Rastani. The topic for tonight's workshop is examining the etiquettes of fasting in the hadith of Ahl Bayt, Salaamullah alayhim. So inshallah, there'll be a series of 2. The next one is scheduled for next Sunday. So please, whoever, I'm sorry, yes, next Saturday, that's right. So please welcome Sheikh with a loud salawat from wherever you're watching us, whether you're in a car or where you're sitting in your living room or watching.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't hear the salawat of the people, but it's okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجه. Yes, so as Brother Ufi said, our topic is going to be the etiquettes of the month of Ramadan, or not the month of Ramadan necessarily, but the etiquettes of fasting in general in our texts and books that we have. And so that's why I titled it the way I did. What we're going to cover, inshallah, in the beginning is going to be more related to fasting in general and some of the etiquettes that we have there. And then we'll get to Ramadan, the month of Ramadan in particular as well, maybe in our next session. Let's see how far we can get. So when we say etiquette, some of those mustahabbat that we have, that you can find in the Tawzih books, the books of Islamic law, you can find them there. Sometimes we find these etiquettes, now whether it's for fasting, whether it's for salat, and so on. And so we know that our Marja Taqlid is, he has a fatwa on something regarding the etiquette. So for example, they'll say it is mustahab to break your fast with dates, for example. Now, we are usually seeing these fatwas of the Maraja, but we usually don't see the hadiths that are behind these fatwas. And it starts from Tahara and Najasa all the way to the end of fiqh. Every fatwa that a Marja has, lots of times will be based on, in one way or another, will be based on certain hadiths that they have. And so when you look at the fatwa itself, you find wording there that is used, and you can understand what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. But sometimes it helps just to get an idea of how the imams look at things, to look at the wording of the hadiths that are behind these fatwas. Okay, now sometimes you go to the wajib and haram issues and mas'alas of these maraja, and you want to see what the hadiths are. That can get a little bit dangerous. Why? Because if a person sometimes goes really into those hadiths, there's a chance that they'll have a different understanding from the hadith than their own marja' taqlid. And they won't know why their marja' taqlid has come to a certain conclusion and given a certain fatwa. So it might be, in a sense, I don't want to make a general statement here, but in a sense, it might be better to just see the fatwas of our maraja' when it comes to the wajib and haram things. But then when it comes to certain mustahabbat and certain adab and etiquettes, as we call them, it can be very inspirational and nice to actually see what the hadiths have said. So I'll give you an example. For example, you'll find in Adab al-Sawm, in the etiquettes of fasting, you'll find that it says, if you're fasting a mustahab fast and your Muslim brother or sister offers you something, it's mustahab to break your fast. That's what the fatwa will say, finished, end of story. But then when you look in the hadiths actually that the Maraja have used for this fatwa, you'll find that there's a lot more in there that's very inspirational. And so that's why I felt that it would be a good idea to go through these hadiths themselves. Usually, what I'm doing with all of you brothers and sisters in Moment is that I'm going through fatwas. We're trying to explain what the Maraja say regarding the masail of, for example, fasting and roza. But sometimes, yeah, sometimes it might be a good idea to also look at some of the hadiths that we have that are the backing of these fatawa, at least in the adab, at least in the mustahabbat. Okay, so for that, you go to the number one hadith book that will be referred to by the mujtahideen for these adab, for these mustahabbat, when they want to give a fatwa on them. Where do they go? They go to a second-hand source. What do I mean by second-hand source? Means it's not one of those original compilations of hadiths by an individual who has heard those hadiths from others who eventually trace back to the imam. A first-hand source in this sense is a source where a person himself is part of the chain of narrators, right? So, for example, Muhammad bin Yaqub al-Kulayni, who has the book of Al-Kafi, the hadiths he brings, they're hadiths that he himself has uh, received from his predecessors. But when we go to second-hand sources, what we mean by second-hand sources is those books of hadith where the person himself isn't the one who's narrating the hadith, but rather they've compiled and brought together different first-hand sources, right? I'm speaking very loosely here, of course. So, for example, the book in the Hawza right now, in Bahth al-Kharij, in that Dars al-Kharij that they hold, the famous Dars al-Kharij that all these Maraja and Mujtahideen have in Qom and Najaf, the book that they'll usually go to is a second-hand book called Wasa'il al-Shi'a. Wasa'il al-Shi'a, it will be referred to as a second-hand one. Why? Because it is a compilation of first-hand sources. What this Hur al-Amali has done, the compiler of this book, Wasa'il al-Shi'a, is that he's gone to the four main books of the Shi'i school of thought, the four main hadith books of Al-Kafi and of Man La Yahturuhu Al-Faqih and of Tahdhib and Al-Istibsar. These four main hadith books that are first-hand books. He's gone to those and he has brought them together in one book. So a mujtahid, when he wants to give a fatwa, when it comes to a certain issue, instead of having to go to Al-Kafi separately, then Al-Tahdhib separately, and then Al-Istibsar and Man La Yahturuhu Al-Faqih separately, they have it all in one. They have it all in one book. And also there's other things that Wasa'il al-Shi'a has done. He has kind of sometimes cut these longer hadiths into pieces and brought the parts that are relevant to the chapter he's bringing them in. He's just brought that part instead of the entire hadith. There are some pros to this and there's some cons to that. But now, this is not a session on hadith books and hadith studies. That's something that has to be done separately. What we want to talk about right now is the hadiths we have in this book of Wasa'il al-Shi'a, which is a compilation of those four main books of the Shi'i school. Yes? See what hadiths we have in regards to certain etiquettes. Now, one more thing to say before I start these hadiths is that you might find some of the hadiths being a little repetitive. I'll still probably read most of them. Why? To show and illustrate how a certain notion and concept, yeah, is that important that we have so many hadiths. Sometimes one chapter within, or one sub-chapter of the chapter of etiquettes of fasting will have two hadiths. A sub-chapter will have one hadith, two hadiths under the etiquettes of fasting. Some of these sub-chapters of the etiquettes of fasting might have 10, 12, 15 hadiths, which shows that this is a more important concept. This is something that the Imams were insistent on more. All right. So having said all of that, oh, and one more thing. As we go through these hadiths, I want you to ask any questions you might have in the chat box. And also, even if they're not relevant to what we're covering, even, as long as they're relevant to the fast, in between the hadith, I'll take those questions as well, inshallah. I want it to be more interactive. These workshops that we had in the past 2-3 years in Momin, they're that time where everyone has had their iftar, they've done their dua, they've done their socialization, they've had their chai, right? And what they've done is, after they're done with everything, on the weekends we would all get together, if you remember, and we would like just discuss a certain topic, and people would really chime in, and it was fun. I miss those days. But anyway, so I want you to answer your questions as well. So the first question is, they say, I bet there's Iranian tea in that cup. No, it's just plain pani. It's just plain water, actually, in a mug that was given to me in Muharram a few years ago, for a place that I had gone to lecture. All right, so now beginning. The first chapter has 2 hadiths in it, regarding the etiquettes of fasting. And it says, باب استحباب كتم الصوم المندوب إلا أن يسأل فلا يجوز الكذب. How it is mustahab to hide the fact that you're fasting, a mustahab fast, unless you're asked. If you're asked if you're fasting or not, then that's going to be a different story. So let's see what these hadiths say. Let's examine them. It says, عن أبي عبد الله عليه السلام, so the 6th Imam says, من كتم صومه قال الله عز وجل لملائكته عبدي استجار من عذابي فأجيروه. Whoever hides their fast from others, of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells his angels, this servant of mine istajara min adabi, is seeking safety from my punishment. So give him safety from my punishment. In other words, this person right now, in this state that they're in, and inshallah continuing after that as well, they are protected from the hellfire because of the fact that he's hiding it from people. وَوَكَّلَ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ مَلَائِكَتَهُ بِالدُّعَاءِ لِلصَّائِمِينَ. He's also told his angels to do dua for those who fast. And whenever Allah tells his angels to do dua for somebody, that dua will be accepted. Okay, so that's the first hadith, talking about how it is good to hide the fact that you're fasting from others. It's something that is recommended according to this hadith. But yeah, what if someone asks me? What if someone asks me if I'm fasting or not? What do I do? Well, here there's another hadith. It says, عن أبي عبد الله, again the 6th Imam, قال, he said, الرجل يكون صائما فيقال له أصائم أنت. The person might be fasting, and then they'll be asked, are you fasting? فيقول لا. This person says, no, I'm not, while they really are. It says, فقال أبو عبد الله هذا كذب. It says, this is lying, you can't lie. Right? So you want to be super spiritual, there's other ways of being super spiritual. If you are put on the spot and someone asks you, are you fasting or not, just because you want to hide it so that you don't fall into riya, you don't want to try to show off or anything, doesn't mean now you have to lie. Yeah. Yeah, so sister's asking, is this fasting outside of Ramadan? Yeah, that's what I said. In the beginning of our session, I said that we're going through the etiquettes of fasting right now in general. This, what we're going to cover right now, necessarily doesn't have to do with Ramadan's fast, right? So, and right now when I started the chapter, I said, for hiding the fact that you're fasting a mustahab fast. So I want you all to pay attention to the words that I say, because these words contribute to understanding the context that where these hadiths are in. Okay, that was the first set of hadiths about hiding your fast. Second set, استحباب القيلولة للصائم والطيب له أول النهار. Okay, this one's cool. It says قال أبو الحسن عليه السلام. It probably is Imam al-Jawad, I'm not sure, Abu al-Hasan, or even maybe, yeah, or maybe even Imam al-Rida. So let's see. قِيلُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُطْعِمُ الصَّائِمَ وَيَسْقِيهِ فِي مَنَامِهِ. This one's kind of cool. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Taha. Oh, by the way, everyone said salam. I didn't say salam back to them. Brother Jerry, Sister Sukaina, Muhammad Mamdani, welcome back to Dallas, Sheikh. Oh, thanks. It was a long trip, but thank you. No, I wasn't traveling anywhere. Sister Rabab, Brother Vasi, Sister Nura, and Taha Mamdani. All right. قِيلُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ يُطْعِمُ الصَّائِمَ وَيَسْقِيهِ فِي مَنَامِهِ. Qilu, and qilu is a verb. It comes from the word qaylula. And qaylula, if you want to put it in layman's terms, it is the power nap that you can have throughout the day. Yes, some people are professionals at it. It happens when you're really tired, and maybe you've woken up really early, and so like no matter, like it's very easy to fall asleep, even if you're on Instagram and you're just going through all the photos and everything, and it's something that usually keeps you awake, but you've gotten so tired that you knock out, and you can go for like 10 minutes, and you wake up, you feel like you're the strongest person ever. You have all the energy in the world. You've gone Super Saiyan or something, yeah? Anyway, so here it says qilu, right? Which means take power naps when you're fasting. Wow. Yeah. Take power naps when you're fasting. فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ, this part's cool. يُطْعِمُ الصَّائِمِ, Allah feeds the one who is fasting and quenches his thirst when he is fasting, when they take a power nap. Very interesting. Now, I think that is, what it's trying to say is probably, look, when you take a nap, first of all, you get a boost in energy. And if you were kind of hungry and stuff, when you wake up, you don't feel it as much anymore. And time has passed. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Yeah. You know what the best naps are in Ramadan is when it's like an hour till iftar and then you knock out and then you wake up and it's iftar time. Like what more could you ask for? So here it says qilu, yes, have those power naps, those little short naps. All right, Brother Taha asks a good question. He says, why would Allah ask his angels to do dua for a servant when he can just make the dua come true by himself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Well, that also falls under that question goes along with a bunch of other questions out there that we have. Why does God need angels to do anything else in this world, while clearly the Quran says Allah does things through angels? That's a long story of why Allah does things through angels. But it also, we have to understand, we believe that there will be some shafi'as in this life and in the hereafter, intercessors, if you may, that that have a connection with Allah, that have a relationship with Allah, and because of them, Allah will do certain things. Apparently, in this case, when Allah tells the angels to also do dua, that also contributes to that thing happening. Yeah, or else at the end of the day, we don't even have to do dua. Allah can do everything anyway, right? But there's a reason for all of this. If Allah can do everything, if Allah knows what's in my heart, what I need, why should I even do dua to begin with, right? But there's a reason why he wants me to do dua. If God wants something to happen, he can just do it. Why does he ask the angels to do dua for us? There's a reason for that as well. There's a whole chain and hierarchy of causes and effects in the universe and in this whole in all of creation. And things happen by those rules. Yeah, so that's in a nutshell. Sister Zainab, salam Sheikh from this Mamdani family too. Okay, I thought it was a question. Wa alaikum salam, Mamdani family. Oh, Brother Vasi, can you repeat about the part where someone offers you food unknowingly that you are mustahab fasting? No, I'm not going to repeat it. Haha. No, we'll get to that later. There's a bunch of hadiths we'll get to later. We haven't covered it yet. Are you from like in the future or something? Like we haven't covered that yet. Yeah, I did mention something in the beginning though. Yeah, so don't worry, you haven't missed anything. Let me drink some more water out of my super cool mug here. All right. So that's the first hadith for the napping. We have another hadith now. It says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم نوم الصائم عبادة ونفسه تسبيح. Okay, this is a famous one, that the sleep of the one fasting is worship and his breaths are tasbih and glorification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. الصائم في عبادة وإن كان نائما. A person who is fasting is constantly in a state of worship, even if they're asleep. Ma lam yaghtab musliman. As long as they don't backbite someone, right? They are in a constant state of worship. All right. So it's someone might say, "Oh, but how can you backbite somebody when you're sleeping?" Right? But that's not what the hadith is saying. That's not what the hadith is saying. The hadith is saying that look, a person who's fasting is in a perpetual state of ibadah and worship, as long as they don't backbite. Yeah, and then someone asks, okay, even if when they're sleeping, the hadith says yes, even when they're sleeping, they're in that state of ibadah. All right, next set of hadiths. We have 12 hadiths here now. So these past two ones that we did, they weren't too many hadiths for them, but now we have a whole bunch for باب استحباب تفطير الصائم عند الغروب بما تيسر وتأكده or تأكده في شهر رمضان. All right. She says that hadith about napping needs to be spread to everyone. I need it framed in the house. No, I mean it said nap, so remember nap, not hibernation or anything. All right, qaylula means a small nap. Yeah, we don't want to reach a point where Ramadan is a time of just not doing anything either. Like you still have to get on with life and do work. All right. So what is this third chapter about? This third subchapter of the etiquettes of fasting has to do with giving iftar to someone else to break their fast with. Okay, so this is something that it has a lot of importance, and we have 12 hadith here, and we have other hadith elsewhere as well in regards to this, and our centers are doing that inshallah in this month of Ramadan as well, providing meals for people who who um, who who need it. Okay, so it says that Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam said that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam said, "Man fattara fihi." يعني في شهر رمضان مؤمنا صائما كان له بذلك عند الله عتق رقبة. So there's this unit that you had back in the day, you don't have this anymore. One of a unit of in different parts of fiqh, a unit, and that was freeing a slave, right? Sometimes this is a way of taking care of certain duties or certain penalties in Islam, is to free a slave. And freeing slaves has always been something that has been very praiseworthy in Islam. Now, of course, there's a whole story about slavery. It's a little different than the way slavery was here um, um, in America. Back in that time, it wasn't like slaves were being mistreated during the Prophet's time. The Prophet brought a culture of taking care of the slaves and making them, part of the family and so on, kind of. Here, usually the word slavery comes to mind. All you can think of is whips and lashes and chains. Yeah. But back in that day, it was a little different in the Prophet, where the Prophet was. But that's history. There might be a lot to say in regards to that. And I'm not an expert in that regard. I haven't researched it too much. But anyway, freeing slaves is something that is very important in Islam. And so here it says, whoever fattara mu'minan sa'iman. Fattara mu'minan sa'iman means that they are the reason, they are the means by which a mu'min breaks their fast. So I think here what is important is that a person breaks their fast with what you give them. Yes, if you give them a meal later, it'll still have many rewards, especially since they were fasting. Inshallah, it has many rewards, but apparently specifically for breaking the fast, there's a special reward there, and Islam has given special attention to that as well, right? And so it says it's as if a person who gives iftar or has someone break their fast, it's as if they freed a slave. Brothers and sisters, freeing a slave, you know what that means? Let me give you an example of what that means, how much that might cost. Okay, in today's, going by today's standards, if a person breaks their fast, well, forget about it. I don't want to calculate anything right now. It's kind of like a car, I would say. At least my understanding, that's what it is. Kind of like your normal little car. If you have a little, not a very luxurious car, but a car. something between 8 to 10 to 15,000 bucks, maybe. I don't know. I'm just trying to use a number here. When you help someone break their fast, it's as if you've done something like this. All right. وَمَغْفِرَةً كَانَ لَهُ عند الله عتق رقبة ومغفرة لذنوبه فيما مضى. And also it brings about forgiveness for that person's previous sins. قيل يا رسول الله ليس كلنا يقدر على أن يفطر صائما. O Rasulullah, we don't have what it takes to provide iftar for a person that has been fasting. So here I think, brothers and sisters, what is meant by the hadith is that when it says to help them break their fast, not just what they break their fast with, but the meal that they're going to be eating after for iftar. Apparently that's what is meant, because you all know this hadith. As the hadith goes on, they say, oh Prophet, we don't have what it takes. The Prophet says, okay, give them at least something small, which means originally what the Prophet had in mind was a meal. Yeah, so that's what apparently primarily what is meant by taftir as-sa'im. To provide iftar means to provide a meal for them. But if someone can't, the least that they can do is to help them break their fast. Okay, so he says, someone asked, but we don't all have what it takes to provide a meal for people. فَقَالْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَرِيمٌ. Allah is Kareem, right? Allah is, I don't know what the equivalent for Kareem is, I forgot. Benevolent. يُعْتِي هَذَا الثَّوْبِ هذا الثواب لمن لم يقدر إلا على مذقة من لبن. Even if it's a sip of milk for a person who can't. Yes, Allah is Kareem, Allah is generous Himself. So if you can't do that, at least do this much. أو شربة من ماء, a gulp of water. من ماء عذب, clean drinking water. أو تمرات لا يقدر على أكثر من ذلك. Or dates. So anything like that even will do the job. All right. Someone says, Shaykh, can you tell us a joke, please? If you watch the rest of the session, there's probably going to be a lot of jokes that come. I haven't thought of any right now, but they come to me. You know that. All right. Now here, I just have to say one thing. All right. And that is that if this is the case, and there's so much reward for such things, we have to be careful to not make people uncomfortable. All right. So what happens, for example, is people will be running to you iftar time, bringing you a date. Here, have mine. And another one's like, have mine. Before you know it, I have all this stuff in my face. I'm like, I don't know which one what I'm supposed to do, right? Now, this happens a lot with different people. Or like, there are certain things that we don't have in our culture, and we don't like to eat or drink too much. But then people are sometimes really insistent on offering that, and that's because they have good intentions, and may Allah bless them. But sometimes we have to be careful. There are cases where people might become uncomfortable when too much is being offered to them. I'm not talking about myself personally. I'm just saying in general. It's something to keep in mind. You'll find this sometimes, that it goes overboard a little bit with that. For example, someone will drop off a box of dates to your house, right? For when it comes to akhirah, right? They have a business-like mentality. They'll go to like 20 people's houses, drop off a box of dates at each person's house, and be like, hey, every day I want you to break your fast with my dates, right? So this guy, he's like investing, right? It's like stocks, man. He's like going around. He's like, oh, this is going to multiply for me. And well, sometimes, my mom has made food. She wants me to break fast with her food, or others have also brought something, So like there should be a balance as well. But still, you can't scold this eagerness to get thawab and Jannah points. You know what I'm saying? All right. Another hadith. Man fattara sa'iman falahu mithlu ajrihi. Whoever provides iftar to someone, whoever provides iftar to a fasting individual, they will get the ajr and reward that person got for their fast. Wow. Good stuff. Yeah, sisters talking about ruh afza. Like, we don't have ruh afza the way you do, brothers and sisters, the Desi brothers and sisters. We don't have it in Iranian culture. We have something similar, but it tastes different. So I just find it hard to drink this ruh afza. I know you guys are gonna probably hate me after this, but yeah, it's a tough one. I just prefer the water, you know. um, دخل سدير على أبي عليه السلام. It says that Imam al-Sadiq um, says that someone by the name of Sudayr entered upon my father, Imam al-Baqir, في شهر Ramadan, on the night of in the month of Ramadan. فقال يا سدير, O Sudayr, do you know what nights these are that we're in? He says, Naam, yes, these are the nights of Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. فماذا? So what's up? Like, what is there something you want to share with me? O Imam al-Baqir, فقال له أتقدر عن على أن تعتق كل ليلة من هذه الليالي? Are you able to free every night in these nights 10 slaves that are of the progeny and descendants of Prophet Ismail alayhi salam? So it's pretty interesting. Okay, what does Sudayr say? Sudayr says, anything, the same thing that any one of us would say. We don't got that much money. فقال له سدير بأبي أنت وأمي, may I be your sacrifice? لا يبلغ مالي ذاك. I don't have that much money. So it says the Imam continued. He went from 10. He's like, okay, fine. 9, 8, 7. Can you 6? Can you do 5? All the way till 1. And the Imam says, can you do 1? And not from the progeny of Prophet Ismail, but just a Muslim slave. Can you do that? He says, yeah, I can do that much. He says, okay. He says, okay, that's what I wanted to hear. So you said to me that it's not possible, not possible, not possible, all the way till we came down to 1. And a normal slave, not one of the progeny of Prophet Ismail, you said, okay, I can do that. If I'm understanding this part of the hadith correctly. But anyway, this is the important part of the hadith. It says, Ya Sudayr, inna iftaraka akhak al-Muslim ya'dilu raqabatan min wuldi Ismail. When you provide iftar for your brother, for your Muslim brother or sister, it is as if you have freed a slave from the progeny of Prophet Ismail alayhi salam. And we all know our holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family tree goes back to Ismail. All right, let's look at some of these comments here. Yeah, I can see everyone's like everyone has laughter emojis and everyone's happy. You know why, right? Because you've eaten and you're full now, alhamdulillah. And you've got your chai, you probably put me on the big screen, you're relaxing, you've spread your feet out, you're having a good time on this Saturday night of quarantine. All right, thoughts on bamya. I don't know what bamya is in Desi culture. In Iranian culture and in Arabic culture, bamya, we have this thing called zulubia and bamya. It's those sweets. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. But yeah, the Iranian version, I love it a lot. Yeah, so every year in Iran, when it's in the holy month of Ramadan, that's the only month that zulubia and bamya is made in the confectionaries. And you can buy it there. After Ramadan ends, there's no zulubia bamia anymore. So that's something people look forward to during the month of Ramadan. All right, Brother Askari says he'll bring me cookies later. Ruhafza, not in my Bengali culture. Coffee. Does providing money for iftar count as the same way, or does it have to be directly offering food? Well, that's a good question. I mean, here it's talking about providing a meal. So if you give money, of course, it will be great, especially if you know that they will buy food with that. Yeah, I would say personally, my understanding, which is not going to be necessarily right, but how I see it is that if you make sure that they do buy a meal with that, then that will count. But I would stick to the actual food itself to make sure that these rewards are secured. Now, sometimes we don't have the means for that. We will give funds to our center, and then people who are in the center, they'll take care of it. But in the end, food is given to the person who needs it. Or not just necessarily the person who needs it, anybody. None of these hadiths are saying that these people have to be in need. It can even be someone who's not in need based on these hadiths. They're not restricted to that, right? There's something about giving food in the month of Ramadan. And there's a hadith we'll come to later. It's beautiful about Sayyid al-Sajidin alayhi salam and how he would do it in the month of Ramadan, which blew me away. I think it'll blow all of us away. All right, مولانا هل إعداد الطعام يعتبر من تفطير الصائم وتؤجر النساء عليه كل ليلة بإطعام عائلتها؟ Inshallah, inshallah. I mean, a person who's preparing food for the sa'imin and for those who are fasting, without a doubt, there is immense reward for it. I don't even think you need to answer this question, sister. It is very clear to me that yes, this is something that has major thawab. Oh, okay, interesting. Sister Zainab also says that in Arab culture, bamia refers to something else. I think she's talking about okra. Yeah. So in Farsi, in Iran also, we have okra, which is called bamia. But also there's a sweet that's called zulubia and bamia. There's two types of them. And so these two use the same word. Yeah, you're right. So we have that in Farsi as well. All right. All right. Moving on now. فطرك أخاك الصائم أفضل من صيامك. You're fasting, your brother or sister is fasting, you provide iftar for them, that providing of iftar to them, it says, is greater than the fast that you have. So it's interesting. Previously it said you get the reward of their fast. Now it's saying if you're fasting also, you also get it. It's better for your fast. It's better than the rewards you get for the fast itself. I mean, this is mind-blowing. What kind of culture is Islam trying to establish amongst the mu'mineen? This is what I want us to pay attention to. What kind of culture? In such a culture that this much, I want you all to pay attention right now. In such a culture where providing iftar for someone who's fasting is this important, and this importance probably comes from the importance of that person and how much respect Islam puts for our brothers and sisters in Islam, then in such a culture, do you think that it's going to be taken lightly when I break that person's heart, when I speak behind that person's back, when I share with others certain negative things of their life that they don't want others to know about? And what are we doing? If this is happening, this is very dangerous. This is the culture of Ahlul Bayt. This is the culture of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is what they're establishing amongst the believers. And so Ramadan time comes, we'll have sometimes, some people might have this mentality of, let me give iftar to erase all the bad stuff I've done to these people before Ramadan. No, it should not be like that. That defeats the purpose, brothers and sisters. Throughout the year, because in Ramadan such importance is given, throughout the year I'm going to keep their respect. Throughout the year I'm going to be kind and gentle with them. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to come and look at the hadiths. You see how much we get out of it? You see how much compassion is coming out of these hadiths. That a person who's fasting, it's as if they're so fragile right now. So there is something that you are supposed to take care of so much that, hey, provide their iftar for them. Don't let them have to go through the trouble of getting iftar for themselves and making iftar for themselves. Subhanallah. Yeah, and so the sister, when she asks, does the wife at home who's making food for the family, does she also get such rewards? Without a shadow of a doubt, I would say that yes, even if they don't fall under this category, all in all, God knows the immense rewards that are given for those mothers and daughters, and inshallah, fathers and sons who come and help out as well, who are preparing iftar together. The least I would say someone can do is after iftar is over, at least be the one who picks up the plates and everything from the table. You're the one who cleans the table. The guys out there, all right, my guys out there, this is something at least that might be done. This is just an example. It's just a suggestion. It's just, my understanding. There might be other ways that might be better. Sometimes you just do such a horrible job. The mom is like, no, I don't need you to help me. Your help is to not help, right? And so that sometimes is the case. But all in all, this might be one way of doing it, is to help beforehand, afterwards, and so on. One of my relatives, he's my cousin. He's like back in Iran. One time his wife had him wash dishes. She's like, you gotta help out in the house. And so he's like, I started washing dishes because he's scared of his wife. It's something that's known in the Iranians that we follow the orders when the orders are issued. Anyway, so he's like, I started washing the dishes, and so I started dropping them on purpose in the sink, not to break them, but dropping them. Oh, oops, oops, And so like showing my incompetence, he told me. So then he said my wife didn't let me wash dishes anymore out of fear of the dishes breaking. Yeah, so that's also something that some people use. That's one tactic some people use. Anyway, but that's not good. You're missing out on big rewards. Like a man who helps inside the house once every now and then, they also inshallah attain great rewards. I don't know. God has put rewards for everything. It seems like it's too easy. It's just a little too easy. All right, let's move on. This is the hadith I was talking about. Imam as-Sajjad alayhi salam, what he would do. It says عن أبي عبد الله Imam as-Sadiq alayhi salam says كان علي ibn al-Husayn alayhi salam, that Imam as-Sajjad, this is what he used to do. إذا كان اليوم الذي يصوم فيه أمر بشاة فتذبح وتقطع or تقطع أعضاء وتطبخ. What he would do was, when he was fasting himself, he would order that they slaughter a sheep and would cut it up into pieces and would cook it. فإذا كان عند المساء, this is the part that brings tears to your eyes. And when nighttime would come, iftar time would come, it was close to iftar time, أكب على القدور. The Imam himself was overseeing these pots that are cooking the food. So he's working himself, sleeves up, working, and these pots are boiling. And remember, in the beginning of the hadith, it said what? It said the Imam was fasting himself. حتى يجد الريح المرق وهو صائم. He would be standing over these pots to the point where he would smell the food himself, and maybe even he would start smelling like the food itself. ثم يقول, and then he would say, هاتوا القصاع. Bring me the qas'as. Qas'a, it's like a small container or a container that you eat food in. Right? اغرفوا لآل فلان اغرفوا لآل فلان. All right. Put this much in this one for this khandan, for this family. This much food for this family. So now he's distributing it. He's dividing it up, this food that's not ready to go. So he's not just sending dates, he's sending food. He's not sending money. He's taking care of cooking it himself and then distributing it. See, this is the hadith I wanted to get to. ثُمَّ يُؤْتَى بِخُبْزٍ وَتَمْرٍ. This part blows you away. Because it says, and then they would bring him bread and dates. فَيَكُنْ ذَلِكَ عَشَاؤُهُ. And this would be his dinner. Subhanallah. He has made meat for others, but when it comes to himself, this is what he's eating: dates and bread. Allahu Akbar. What were these imams? Because when it comes to food, the test gets serious. Okay, people can give money in the way of God. People can do a lot of things in the way of God, but the food part is the hard part, especially if you've been working all day. And so here the Imam, this is what he's doing. You would think that he's going to also take part in that. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And when we, in our centers, when we are preparing iftar, and the brothers that are and sisters that are helping out, for example, in the kitchen and so on, when they're going to also have from the same food. There's nothing wrong with that. But in this certain case and situation, the Imam wouldn't take from the food himself, and he would have a very more simple iftar. Very, very interesting. All right. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله من فطر صائما كان له مثل أجره من غير أن ينقص منه شيء. Whoever provides iftar for another fasting person, they will get the reward of that person as well, without that person's reward decreasing in any way. So it just multiplies. It doubles. How? I don't know how. This is like God. God is the one. If you remember a few days ago, in the khutbah of Nahj al-Balagha that we were covering, um, the Imam, he said, "Tijaratun murbiha yassaraha lahum rabbuhum." This is an opportunity God has given. He says, "I'll multiply it." It is a profitable deal. Provide iftar, you will get the reward of that person without that person's reward decreasing in any way. Someone might say, "How's that possible?" Well, have you ever heard of Microsoft Windows? Have you ever heard of the copy paste feature? When you copy and paste a file somewhere else, that file now exists somewhere else. Did anything happen to the original file? No, the original file is still in your computer. No difference. Yes, if Microsoft can do it, God can do it. من غير أن ينقص منه شيء. Nothing is decreased from that person. It just multiplies and you get the other half, the other duplicate. وما عمل بقوة ذلك الطعام من بر. There isn't any other amal and action that has the power in righteousness of this providing a meal to someone who's fasting. Subhanallah. What a wonderful deal Allah has given us and made with us. فطرك لأخيك وإدخالك السرور عليه أعظم من أجر صيامك. This hadith adds a little more to whatever we've covered before. What is that? It's the black mug again. What is that? It says you providing a meal for your brother or sister, and as a result, bringing joy to them. When you bring joy to their heart. So when you give money instead of a meal, there's still joy. Yes? But I would say the joy is a little less than when the food itself is given. Yes? Here, the hadith puts its finger on the joy that comes as a result of that. It says this has a greater reward than the fast that you have yourself. قال الباقر عليه السلام. You see, that's about 6 or 7 hadiths so far we had just on this idea of providing iftar to someone else that is also fasting. أيما قال الباقر عليه السلام أيما مؤمن فطر مؤمنا ليلة من شهر رمضان كتب الله له بذلك مثل أجر من أعتق نسمة. That when you do that, it's like freeing a slave, and when you do that for the whole month, it's like you freed 30 slaves. All right. So as you see, as I said before, these are hadiths that are repeating, just so that we show, just to show how important this is, that we have so many different hadiths on it. Another one which is really big, it says, من فطر صائما مؤمنا وكل الله به 70 ملكا يقدسونه إلى مثل تلك الليلة من قابل. When a person provides iftar to somebody else that's fasting, Allah will delegate or will put in place 70 angels who will glorify him until the next year of that night next year. So for another year, the angels are doing taqdees of him for this person. Another hadith. Ya Ali. It says the Prophet was telling Imam Ali different things, right? One of those things that he said was this. Ya Ali thalathu farahatin lil mu'min fi dunya. A mu'min has 3 things to be happy about in this dunya. Liqa'ul ikhwan, to meet their brethren, to sit down with the brothers, have a chill session, have a hangout session, and of course a hangout session without haram, 1, and 2, a hangout session where it's not all in vain and nonsense, right? If you're gonna have a 2-hour Instagram live going on, that's fine. Discuss, important stuff and have a good time in it too. Joke around, everything halal, but also say some good stuff. Say some things about Islam. Answer some questions on Islam if you know the answers. Makes me happy when I see some guys doing that. It's good. But keep it kosher and halal. Liqa'ul ikhwan, number one. And not right now we're in quarantine, right? So this really makes sense to us. Like being able to meet our brethren. It's just something that makes us really happy when we can't do it right now. Taftir as-sa'im, number two. Another thing is that when you give iftar to somebody who's fasting, that's also one of the farahat of a mu'min in this dunya. One of those happy, joyous things for a mu'min in this dunya. And at-tahajjud fi akhir al-layl. And towards the end of the night, to have salat al-layl. These three are great things to have, the Imam is saying. All right. 21st century, the candle example has been upgraded to Microsoft copy-paste example. Who needs jokes from Shaykh Amin when you got these guys in the comment section? Alhamdulillah. Yeah, you're right. The candle example, I forgot about that. The key to someone's heart is through their stomach. Well, who's gonna can't deny that. Yep. لأن أفطر رجلا لأن أفطر رجلا مؤمنا في بيتي أحب إلي من أن أعتق كذا وكذا نسمة من ولد إسماعيل. Imam Baqir alayhi salam. Now this goes to Sister Zainab's question of the wife in the house providing iftar for the family. I think this falls under that category, this hadith. It says, for me, the Imam is saying, to provide iftar for someone who's fasting in my home now. So it's not talking about the Muslimin outside the home, apparently. This is talking about those in the home. Ahabbu ilay is more beloved to me than freeing this many slaves of the progeny of Prophet Ismail alayhi salam. It's interesting. It shows that freeing a slave that comes from that progeny probably has more thawab. I don't know if there were slaves back then that people knew was from that progeny or not. Or maybe just the Imam it's just something that was used to express the greatness of something. They would say from the progeny of Ismail, meaning someone that's very important and has the utmost respect in the eyes of the Muslimin. All right, so that was the third sub-chapter of the etiquettes. Sub-chapter number 4, which is an important one, and I think we'll end after this. And as I said before, if there are any questions, just keep asking them, because we've already gone for 54 minutes. I mean, I don't know why time flies when I'm speaking. I don't know. I hope it's flying for you guys too. I hope you're not just sitting there being like, oh my God, he's gone for an hour. Why isn't he ending? Anyway, number 4, sub-chapter number 4, istihbab as-suhur liman yuridu as-sawm. This one's also important. وَتَأَكُّدِهِ فِي شَهْرِ رَمَضَانِ وَعَدَمْ وُجُوبِهِ. All right, 3 things. How it is mustahab to have your suhoor, or as our Desi brothers and sisters say, seri, or as the Iranians say, or the Iranians and Afghans might say, sahari, right? All right. It says here, number 1, how it's mustahab to have sahri. Number 2, for the one who wants to fast. Number 2, how the importance of this and the istihbab of this multiplies if you're fasting for Ramadan, the month of Ramadan. And how at the same time, although it is very encouraged, it is not wajib at the end of the day. All right. Some people, their kids think that it is wajib to wake up for Sahri, or else their fast might be batil. No, that's not the case, but I wouldn't tell them that, because then they might not want to wake up. And they don't understand. They need to get some food in them at Sahri time, or else it might not be healthy for them. So let them think that for now. All right. It says, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq was asked, Sa'altu an as-suhur. I asked him about, Sahri, for a person who wants to fast. Awajibun huwa alayh. Is it wajib to have sahri for a person who wants to fast? فقال لا بأس بألا يتسحر إن شاء. No, it's okay. They don't have to wake up for sahri if they don't want to. But أما في شهر رمضان فإنه أفضل أن يتسحر. Imam says, listen, in the month of Ramadan though, it's better for them to wake up and to have their sahri. It is better. It's afdal. It has more fadilah for them to wake up actually. نحب أن لا يترك في شهر رمضان. نحب, we love for them to not skip this part of the fast, which is waking up for sahri. We love, the Imam is saying, meaning the Ahlul Bayt. This is something the Ahlul Bayt prefer, that their followers wake up for sahri, right? Another hadith. وَقَدْ يُسْتَحَبُّ لِلْعَبْدِ أَلَّا يَدَعَ السُّحُورِ. The Imam says that it is mustahab for the servant of Allah, when they want to fast, to not skip sahri. Number 3. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله السحور بركة. Suhoor brings about barakah, and he hasn't specified where it brings barakah. Is it in my wealth? Is it where is it exactly? I would say, personally, once again, this is not something that I found anywhere. I didn't look for it, but this is something that comes to mind. Is that when you have your sahri, I would say it's healthier for you. I mean, before the month of Ramadan began this year, all over America, you had different centers and communities, members of their centers who are nutritionists, and they're experts when it comes to diets and what to have and what not to have, and they have medical degrees and everything. They were bringing them to explain what the best way to fast is, what the best thing to have for sahri is, and you can tell all of them agree that if you have sahri, it's healthier for you. And so I think the least the Prophet means here when he says as-suhuru barakah, that suhoor brings about barakah, the reason for that is when you don't have sahri, there's a chance that you might fall sick easier. And so because it's not as healthy, and as a result, you can't fast anymore. You'll have to take a few days off, and then you can't work properly anymore because you're sick. As a result of not being able to work, you won't be able to yield enough money anymore, or funds or whatever, to be able to, for your livelihood, and so on and so forth. It brings about barakah because you stay healthy. That's the least I would say a person might be able to take from this hadith. But the hadith is unrestricted here as well. It doesn't restrict it to just what I said. And so one might even conclude that this is something, when Allah says as-suhuru barakah, that means Allah has placed within this time frame before Fajr, when a person wakes up to have their sahri, Allah has blessed that time in a certain way. Being awake in that time and having that food that you have brings about barakah in every aspect of your life, right? In your wealth, in your health, and other things. For example, we have in our hadiths that the best time that a person can bring barakah for them in their life is between Fajr and sunrise, to be awake in that time. That's a special time. This is also a special time. A special time that you're doing something special in, which is you're having sahri. It doesn't say as-sahar barakah. It says as-suhur. The meal you have then is barakah. All right, so that's pretty interesting. What a well-rounded religion we have. That's all I'm going to say. That is all I'm going to say. Where's that mic when I want to drop it? All right. لا تدع أمتي السحور ولو على حشفة. That my ummah, my nation, in other words, if you take pride, تفتخر, that you are affiliated with and associated with the Holy Prophet, that you fall under the category of being his ummah, a member of his ummah and nation, if that's the type of person that you are, it says لا تدع أمتي السحور ولا على حشفة, that they don't skip the sahri, even if it means having a little small dried up maybe date. That's how important it is for the Holy Prophet, for his ummah to wake up in this time and have something to eat. Once again though, you see how important it is, but at the same time, the first hadith that we had, it said that he asked the Imam, is it wajib? And the Imam said, no, it's not wajib, it's better. So all these hadiths are saying this, but they don't mean it in a wujubi way. They mean it in an istihbabi way, in a recommended way. It says here, Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh, what is the time precaution in stopping eating suhoor before Fajr? All right, yeah, so we covered this in our Ramadan review when on Thursday, or was it Friday night, Thursday night? Yeah, Thursday night last week when Ramadan was gonna start. And we said there that you have to stop when you're sure Fajr time has actually set in. Now there might be different apps, different timings, um, and usually it's two timings that are out there for Fajr time. Right now, for example, what you'll have, let me pull up this app here. So according to one app, it says 5:09. According to another app, it says, or another form of calculation, it says 5:19, 10-minute difference. Right? And so I said that night when I was covering this, I said, technically speaking, one can go all the way till they're sure it's Fajr time. So till 5:19, technically they go. But do I suggest that? Do I encourage that? No. I would say stop, at the first time, 5:09. If you want to add a few minutes, that's fine. And but I personally won't go all the way up till the other time, just to be on the safe side. But it's not wajib. And technically speaking, one can go until they're sure it's Fajr time. We have this ruling. Both Ayatollah Sistani in his book clearly says this, and Ayatollah Khamenei also very clearly says this in his book as well. But you have to also make sure that Fajr time has set in for you to be able to pray Fajr as well. So if a person wants to stop eating at 5:09, they can stop eating at 5:09, but they can't pray Fajr until at least 5:19, if not even a little bit more than that. Yeah. Fajr time is a tough one. Unfortunately, it's hard to figure out exactly when Fajr is. That's why we have these problems. And that's why the Maraja have said it's fine. You can go until you're sure it's Fajr time. Hope that answers your question. Okay, so we have that mic over there. Thank you so much, Brother Askari. Thank you. All right. So that last hadith we covered, it says like, hey, have your sahari, even if it means it's a small little date. This hashfa or hashafa, it says arda'u tamr aw al-da'if la nawa lahu aw al-yabis al-fasid, like that dry shriveled up date that like no one even wants to eat or look out for that, or look at for that matter. Even if it means that, do it. Wake up and have it. I don't know what it is in this sahari that Allah has done, that the Imams and the Prophet ﷺ are so insistent on it. All right. سألته عن السحور. Here it says that Suma'a asked the Imam about suhoor and having sahari. فقال, the Imam said, in the month of Ramadan, فإن الفضل في السحور. Fazilat, fadl is in suhoor. Once again, I'm personally, I didn't know we had this many hadiths for this, or I think I did, but I just love the wording. وَلَوْ بِشُرْبَةٍ مِّن مَاءٍ, even if it means to drink a sip of water. Now, it doesn't have to necessarily be out of a super awesome mug like this one, but at the end of the day, right, a sip of water, a gulp of water for sahari time. So you got to wake up and do that. There's a chance the Imams were so insistent on sahari because a person who wakes up for sahari is going to be awake to pray Fajr on time as well, and probably will still be a little bit awake afterwards to do some ta'qibat of their salat as well. Now, I don't want to say this is the only reason for that, but this might be one of those reasons as well. Okay? Another hadith here. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. Yeah, and so like our kids sometimes they don't want to wake up for sahari. They're like, I'll just fast without it. I personally feel, not to force them, but this is a culture to establish, inshallah. Yeah, there might be that one night where they're so tired and they just want to sleep, and waking them up might even hurt them more. That's a different story. But all in all, this is a culture that we have. Can you rinse out your mouth during fasting? Yes, you may. During fasting, you can do anything and put anything in your mouth as long as it is not swallowed, as long as it doesn't go down your throat and esophagus. Yes, that's the problem. I mean, just the other day, one of the brothers had a question. They were asking me, and this there was a question I had last night, and I had a few days ago as well. They were asking about certain mouthpieces that you wear to stop you from grinding your teeth in sleep. And so they were asking, in the day, can we put that in our mouth? I said, yeah, there's no problem. Putting foreign outside objects in your mouth is fine as long as they're not swallowed. Putting water in your mouth to rinse your mouth out is fine when you're fasting. Yes, but you have to be super careful not to swallow it, because if you are rinsing your mouth, and even if it's accidentally swallowed, that's, I think, one of the exceptions where still you'll have to make up that fast. No kafara, but you'll still have to make up that fast. Because if we accidentally eat something, it doesn't break our fast. But this is one of those cases where there's an exception. When you put water in your mouth to rinse your mouth. I don't remember the details of the ruling, but we do have something there. Anyway, going back to your question though, it's fine to rinse your mouth out. Just make sure you don't swallow any of that water. You're fine. Putting a foreign object in your mouth, that's fine. It's going to cause more saliva to be produced. That's fine. Saliva, swallowing your own saliva while it's in your mouth is fine. And so on. Yes, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله تسحروا ولو بجرع الماء ألا صلوات الله على المتسحرين. Man, I need that mic again. It says, wake up for sahri and have sahri, even by drinking water. Why? Ala, verily, salawatullahi ala al-mutasahhirin. May the salawat of Allah be upon the ones who wake up for this. But this is eating, O Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is eating and drinking you're telling us to do, but Allah's salawat is upon them. Hey, do as you're told. Don't worry about it. We got this. The Holy Prophet got this. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what's going on in that time of day. He doesn't want his ummah to miss out on that. Another hadith, Imam al-Baqir, he says that قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله تعاونوا بأكل السحور على صيام النهار. Seek help by eating sahri. Seek help by eating sahri for the fast of the day. In other words, when you have sahri, it helps you fast throughout the day. وَبِالنَّوْمِ عِنْدَ الْقَيْلُولَةِ عَلَى قِيَامِ اللَّيْلِ. And take naps throughout the day as well. Wow, this is awesome. So that you can have parts of the night standing in prayer. Standing in prayer. I'm not going to say this for the teenagers, but I'll say this for the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds, that I know you guys are probably up at night with your friends online and playing Call of Duty. All right? Take a portion of the night out, 15 minutes. In the month of Ramadan, for our younger guys who are up, hey man, even the teenagers, they should do this. 15 minutes. Salat al-Layl, if you keep it to the bare minimum of it, is about 15 minutes. 4 2 rak'ah salats, which equals 8 rak'ah altogether, right? 4 2 rak'ah salats with the intention of Salat al-Layl. Then after that, 2 rak'ahs with the intention of Salat al-Shaf'ah. And then after that, a 1 rak'ah salat with the intention of Salat al-Witr or Watr. That's it. 11 rak'ahs. You don't even have to recite a surah. Just recite Surah Fatiha and move on. It's not wajib to do it. In mustahab salats, you can keep it to just a surah, to Surah Fatiha. That's it. Right? That's it. And so don't miss out on that. Like the month of Ramadan, lots of the younger people are up, especially right now where Ramadan is in the summer or now spring, it's become, where the nights are long. After the daylight saving time kicks in, right? Right now we're still after daylight savings. And so they changed it, I think, in March, right? Was it March where they moved the hours up or something, the clocks up? Yeah, the days get long when after daylight savings. But in the winter, it might be different. But for right now, like, guys, I know you guys are up, right? So take 15 minutes out of that. Go to a place where it's a little darker, maybe in the house, in your rooms, whatever. Dim the lights a little bit and do some salat with a little bit more presence of the heart, okay? Don't miss out on it. It's something to not miss out on, inshallah. 15 minutes isn't too much to ask for. You know me, I'm usually not pushing for too many mustahabbat, but in the month of Ramadan, it's good to give ourselves a taste of some mustahabbat as well. That's my advice to my younger guys out there who are my brothers. All right. Note that I said my brothers. I don't. The sisters don't. You know, they're in better shape. I would say. I would think. And so that's why I'm not even speaking to them right now. But yeah, what I said holds for the sisters as well. Um, all right. Brother is asking, is the same considered for fasts outside of Ramadan? The same of what? The same of what? It seems that this hadith in particular, if you're asking about this one, taking a nap throughout the day and all of that, it seems like it would have to do with Ramadan more. But all in all, this is a rule that when you take small naps, you can wake up at night as well for Qiyam al-Layl. So not necessarily I would say this is peculiar just to the month of Ramadan. It'll extend outside of that as well, it seems. I mean, yeah. But where the original source of this hadith is, one of them is kind of hinting that it is for the month of Ramadan. Anyway, some of these are common sense hadiths, brothers and sisters, right? Oh, Brother Ali is asking, he means about sihri in general. Yeah, of course. Of course. If you were here from the beginning of this subchapter, the first few hadiths, the Imams were talking about how sihri is good for when you're doing mustahab fast and is better for fast of the month of Ramadan. So yeah, these hadiths hold for the month of Ramadan for sure, and other times when you're doing mustahab fast as well. Sure. This other one, this next hadith is interesting as well. It says that Imam al-Sadiq said, لو أن الناس تسحروا ولم يفطروا إلا على ماء قدروا على أن يصوموا الدهر. That um, if the people would only have sahri and would have iftar only with water, that's it, they would be able to fast their entire lifetime, minus Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha, because it's haram to fast on those days. But you get what the Imam is saying here. You can fast the whole thing. It's just illustrating. Now, is that an expectation? Not necessarily, but what it's saying is that the point it's making is that, look, this is how powerful sehri is, that it will give you that strength to fast. It can give you the strength to fast the whole of your lifetime. God forbid, God forbid, that's not for us. All right, let's move on very quickly here. Um, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Inna Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala. This is our last hadith, by the way. Wa malaikatuhu yusalluna. So we have a verse in the Quran, Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi, right? But here it says, Inna Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala wa malaikatuhu yusalluna ala al-mutasahhirina wal mustaghfirina bil ashar. فَلْيَتَسَحَّرْ أَحَدُكُمْ وَلَوْ بِشُرْبَةٍ مِّن مَاءٍ. That the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah and His angels, they send their salawat upon the mutasahhirin, those who are waking up for their sahri, and al-mustaghfirina bil ashar, the ones who are doing istighfar during the time of sahar, before fajr time, right? Which means both here now. They're eating and they're praying Salat al-Layl. So it goes back to the point I was making again. Because one of the etiquettes of Salat al-Layl, it's not necessary, and that's why I said base minimum. For my teenagers out there, yeah, you know who you are. You know who you are. And for those 20, 30-year-olds out there, you know who you is too. Yes, I gave you the bare minimum of Salat al-Layl. But there's etiquettes to the Salat al-Layl as well that makes it a little longer. One of them is to say in that last one rak'ah salat, to say astaghfirullah and to do istighfar 70 times. The mustaghfirin bil ashar means the ones who do istighfar in the times of sahar, yes, which is pre-fajr time, meaning they're doing salat al-layl. So here it says Allah and the angels send their salawat upon the ones who are having sahri and also are doing salat al-layl in that time. Now is a good time to practice that. We're up anyway, lots of us, the younger people out there. It's a good time to practice this, I'm telling you. فَلْيَتَسَحَّرْ أَحَدُكُمْ. So each of you should try their best to have sahri, the Prophet says, even if it is through drinking some water. Okay, so that's the hadiths. Those are the hadiths we have for having suhoor and sahri. 9 hadiths we had in this subchapter. All right, I'm going to end it here just to give you a glimpse of what's to come though. We have hadith about doing dua during iftar, when you want to do iftar and break your fast. We have hadiths about doing your salat first and then having iftar. We have to talk about that and when that is mustahab and when it's better not to do that. We will have also, inshallah, next week the hadiths, and there's many of them here, about breaking your fast if you're doing a mustahab fast, not wajib, mustahab fast. If you're doing a mustahab fast and your brother or sister offers you something to eat, right, and they don't know that you're fasting, how it is mustahab to break your fast. Well, there's some very cool hadiths there as well. We have some hadiths about the rewards a person gets when they're fasting and others don't know, and they're eating their lunch, and you're just sitting there, and you're doing your own work, and the smell might come to you, and all that kind of stuff. So the rewards Allah gives to this person. We also have some hadiths about what to break your fast with, and there will be some other ones too that I will share, inshallah, if we have enough time next week to cover everything here. These hadiths are beautiful. You get an idea of the culture that Ahlul Bayt are trying to establish amongst us. It's very nice. The wordings that they've used, the different rewards that they mention. When you go to the Tawzih books, it says it is mustahab for you to do this. Okay. When we go to the hadiths, it shares more as well, right? The marja is doing his job. He's telling me the ruling. The hadiths also give me that motivation. They add color to this black and white Tawzih book that I'm reading, this black and white coloring book that I have. The color comes from these hadiths. So inshallah, we'll cover some more of these hadiths next week. I thank all of you for tuning in, and keep everyone in your du'as. And inshallah, this social distancing is working, and slowly things go back to normal. Although right now they're saying that the numbers are going up already a little bit here in Texas and Dallas. And so may Allah make it easy on everybody, and people continue to do what they need to do to protect each other from any harm, inshallah. All right, so I know you all are following the lectures of Shaykh Ahmed Mudarris. I think he's going to have maybe 3 more days, if I'm not mistaken. Today was the 2nd day he had, or was it the 3rd day? Maybe it was the 3rd day. I'm not sure.
The third
day. Yeah. So today was the 3rd day. So we have 2 more left with him, and then we have Sayyid Hadi Yasin, inshallah, after him as well. I hope you're not missing me too much. You probably aren't, and you're happy about that. So inshallah, keep tuning in for those lectures as well. I thank all of you once again, and I thank the brothers who made all of this possible. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you so much, Sheikh. As Sheikh indicated, inshallah, we'll have second part of this workshop next Saturday, May the 9th, starting at the same time at 10 p.m. And this concludes our program for tonight. Iltamas dua from everyone, and have a wonderful night.